Hey guys, welcome to the MSL Talk podcast. This is a very special episode. I know I say that all the time, but this is going to be very different because I'm having a friend on, someone I met recently, and I couldn't wait to share him with the world and with you guys. He does not come from pharma. He is actually a renowned illusionist, hypnotist, escape artist, amazing performer that's been on America's Got Talent, Chris Angel's Phenomena series. He did a deal on Dragon's Den. He wows audiences all over the world. And we're going to talk about his career journey and how he decided to pursue and chase his passion versus just a paycheck. Before we get to that, this episode is sponsored by Fierce Pharma Engage. You guys may remember it as Mass West. It's in San Diego and it's coming up April 29th to May 1st. So it's right around the corner. This is going to be your last chance to register. So check it out at Fierce Pharma Engage 2025. Sign up. I will definitely be there and I hope to see you guys. So, Danny Zzzz, welcome to the show, brother. How are you?
I'm so excited to be on here and be a part of your program. I love the opportunity to reach out to a new audience. And you and I, just as you said, we had the opportunity to meet and instantly knew there would be a friendship. I think that you are a special breed, my friend.
I love it. And guys, this is such a genuine, amazing soul that we just became fast friends. And I love his story. And got to know about Danny over the course of we went to this, kind of a mastermind, let's call it, a retreat kind of thing, and got to know each other. And when he told me his story and his career journey, I was like, man, we got to talk about that. So let's jump into it. Why don't you just let's talk a little bit about your story, like where you began and that sort of thing.
Yeah, you know what? We all have a story. I'm confident that the good listenership that are paying attention even right now, they look back at the evolution of where they've come from in their own lives, and we all have a story. Mine started off very young. I still live in Canada and a small area in Canada, and I became homeless as a young teen, 13 years old. My mom was a single mother, three children, and it was the economics behind what we were against was just enough that put me into a position where I had to fend for myself. And that's a career choice right there where you have to decide what to do. And for me, I was in school. I had just started high school and I did what anybody would do under those circumstances. I got a job and I worked after school. I worked at a farm, a local farm, and I worked, and continued my education. And I didn't know otherwise. I didn't realize there were other options other than that. I was in survival mode. And perhaps that's the colorful journey that started to lay out the roots of what my life would become. I think that when you're faced with any hardship, any Goliath that's in front of you that's causing you that, it's you only have two roads to travel, and one is a good one and one isn't. And I just chose hard work and education, and my journey started there.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And
So
and you said to me, you said, I really didn't want to work like a normal job. I almost tried everything in my power not to work a normal job. And you've had some amazing different jobs. Like I know that you were like you had a radio show for 25 years and then you obviously became, as I said, an illusionist and an escape artist. Like how does that happen? Can you take us back to those?
sure. When I finished high school, graduated, the first in my family to graduate high school, I hold that in a very high regard, knowing that I accomplished something that the rest of my family hadn't. And I put myself out there, and it's a life lesson a journey that I look back at many times. I had to try something new and believe in myself and do something that I'd never done before. And decided to become a tattoo artist, which sounds ridiculous already. I was very artistic in high school and I spent a lot of time drawing and I was a gifted artist. And leaving high school, I decided that I would buy a tattoo machine and start my journey. And that's certainly not something that somebody would just jump into and try something new, but I did. And I started in 1988. I opened up a tattoo shop, my first tattoo shop. And that business, through that same hard work ethics that we had talked about, and that my belief system in an honest day's work and educating myself, that business grew to the point where I had five tattoo shops, 29 tattoo artists, and 14 body piercers working for me.
Wow.
And the business just continued to grow. And as the business became self-sufficient and my labor force was behind me, it gave me that freedom to decide to do something incredible. And that's a question I have for you. When a person reaches financial security and they have the freedom to really choose to do anything, and I wasn't rich, but I was in a position that I could choose a field, what would you do? That's my question to you. What would you do? Like, if you could do anything, what would you do?
Yeah, you do what brings you the most energy. You have to know
Sure.
what is it that brings you energy. So, for example, there are people that I know that they're introverts. And when they're in a position or have to, be in front of people and communicate with people for periods of time, it drains their energy and it's a lot for them. And then there are people like me and you.
Mhm.
I'm not an introvert. I'm an extrovert. I get energy from people. I want to talk to people. I want to engage with people. And I can go to a conference or I can go to a meeting and be on the whole time. And when I'm done, most people might be exhausted. Introverts would definitely be exhausted. I'm wired. It's something that fills me. So the idea is to find what brings you energy and pursue that. That's what I would say.
Sure. Yeah, when I look at my tattoo career, I can say to you that, oh, look at the success that I had in the business. The truth is, anybody who's successful in business, no matter what you do, no matter what you're doing right now as you're
Yeah.
listening to this, no matter what your job is, life isn't easy. I mean, it comes with financial hardships, physical hardships, relationship issues. Like, I mean, pick a mountain of
Yeah.
things that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. So I didn't just work in that industry. In the beginning, when I had no money and I didn't have a clientele and I didn't do that, I had many jobs. You touched briefly on me working in radio, and I was a garbage man. I worked for a furnace company. I did some electrical work. I did the laundry list like so many people do because you really are just trying to find yourself and you're trying to find a way to evolve and make some financial security. So I was fortunate to have jobs that carried me financially as I built a business because we all know businesses aren't profitable on the first day.
Yeah.
So a lot of the money that I was making on my part-time jobs or other jobs, I was filtering back into the business in order for that to grow. And when I found myself in a financial situation that gave me that question that I posed to you earlier, I recognized that I was a people person. I
Mhm.
recognized that dealing with customers on a day-to-day basis, sometimes 10, 20 customers a day, I was very good at interacting with them and talking to them. And being a tattoo artist is like being a bartender. You hear
Yeah.
all of their problems, they share all of their things, and you have to be a good listener and a good communicator. And when I had the freedom to pick something, I decided that I wanted to be an entertainer because I knew having an audience, having people engage and interacting with them was a calling for me. I knew that if I could be up front and center, I could bring laughter to people and I could find a reason to give people the opportunity to believe in themselves and believe in hope. And I had spent a lifetime by then believing in myself and hoping that I would make it, understanding the journey that I had to climb through to get to where I was already. I knew that I had a story or had something to share, and the only way to get it out there is to get an audience.
Yeah.
And jumping into the entertainment industry gave me just that. And it could be luck. I mean, I very early in my career, I got a very big contract in Niagara Falls, Ontario, Canada. It's like the one of the tourist capitals of the world, mini Las Vegas, kind of. I secured a contract to do a show as an entertainer, as a magician and hypnotist, a 700 seat theater.
Wow.
I did two shows a day, 7 days a week for 7 years without missing a show.
Wow.
So,
Yeah, how
yeah.
does this happen? I'm kind of curious as to how that happens. So you're a tattoo artist and you have this passion for people and you decide that the next thing for you, the next passion for you to follow would be an entertainer. But like, I don't know, one doesn't just wake up one day and become a magician
Why
or
not? Why
like,
not?
how did you do it? What'd you do?
You know what? When I was working in the tattoo industry, do you have any tattoos?
I don't.
Oh, you must look so funny with no clothes on. Sorry, I couldn't help that. In the in the tattoo industry, you're talking to people constantly, and tattooing and body piercing is like a small medical procedure. So the person that's coming in is nervous, and I found myself trying to find ways to make them laugh or to entertain them. And I literally bought a magic kit, and I would show a magic trick to ease the tension. And after a while, when I say a while, about a year, people would start coming into the shop to see a magic trick and not get tattooed. I had people that were
Mm.
coming just for the entertainment. So I booked a hall in our city, a union hall, and put on a show. And because I'd been working in our town, our city, we have 150,000 people here. Because I had been a business person and a radio personality for a number of years, when I put on a show, I sold the tickets and people came. And we had a full crowd, and I performed an hour show, and it worked out real well. So I booked one another week and another week and another week. And by probably the eighth or ninth show, one of the people in the audience was somebody who had a theater in Niagara Falls, and they asked if I'd be interested in doing it. So I started performing weekends in the Niagara Falls, and within a few weeks, we were already sold out. So they extended the dates from Saturday and Sunday to be Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, then Thursday, Friday, and Saturday and Sunday. And then they just said, "Can you do this 7 days a week?" And that was my career. So
That is crazy.
yeah, and I'd like to say to you that I was very lucky, and perhaps I was. But my show is family friendly. It considers everybody in the audience. There's no age, race, religion. There's nothing about it that isn't great for every person who walks through that door. And I spent a lot of time defining a character that would resonate with every single person. So maybe it was lucky. Maybe I was at the right place at the right time, or maybe I had a product and a belief system in myself that was strong enough that resonated with others. No different than my relationship with you. Somebody seen something in me
Yeah.
and said, perhaps there's something here. Then, when that door opened, which is so important, when you
Yeah.
take a look at what life offers you, the door doesn't fling open. Sometimes it's just a crack.
Yep.
And it's up to you to push it in or knock on it or find your way. And when that door of opportunity opened, I jumped right through. And getting through wasn't enough. Now I had to show up for myself. I had to do a great show. I had to continuously evolve and grow and learn to work with the audience. And it success isn't easy no matter what you do. It constantly challenges you to reevaluate yourself and to grow, because even for you in business, everything that you do, the person that you are in business isn't the person that you were 1 year ago. You've learned, and you've got a different clientele and a different way to share and teach and talk and all of those things. So to be good in the entertainment industry every single day, if you don't evolve, you become stagnant,
Yeah.
or the show that somebody's always seen. So you constantly have to reevaluate your position.
There's a lot of people that listen to this show that they're job seekers or they're professionals that may be transitioning or they may have just gotten a job. There's always the conversation of doubt, fear, imposter syndrome. How did you handle some of the challenges as you were new in this transition, putting yourself out there as an entertainer and a musician and a magician and everything else? How did you handle the challenges and adversity and that maybe that doubt that may have creeped in? Was that a factor for you?
Oh, I think it's a factor for everybody. I have a two-part answer to that question. The first thing is, I don't know if you or the audience understands this, but no matter how we live our life, one day we get very sick and die. Like, I mean, we only get one shot at it. There
Yeah.
isn't a redo. And every day that we throw away just goes into a stagnant pile of failure. There's no room to waste. It's the only thing we can't buy. It's the one thing that we can't have more of. So I truly look at my life every single day and see what I can get out of today. I literally wake up in the morning wondering how I can make the day more successful. And I think that that's a mindset. I think that you have to tell yourself that you have to live that life. And I think that's very important. The imposter syndrome or the finding a new job or trying to find out who you need to be. I never followed anybody. When we talk about the great entertainers in the magic industry and the escapology industry, you hear names like Harry Houdini, David Copperfield, David Blaine, Chris Angel, all people aside from Houdini that I've had the opportunity to work with. I never watched another entertainer and tried to be them. I
Hmm.
made my own path. And when you look at successful people, let's just talk the field of broadcasting as an example. Howard Stern is who he was because he never mimicked somebody else. He found a
Right.
character that resonated with himself and he pushed forward. And if you look at some of the great bands, you and I were talking earlier about a band like Metallica, they
Yeah.
don't sound like somebody else. They found their avenue and they made sure they were the best at what they did, period. And my character, and that is a character that I play, my character, Danny Z's, is a character that's energetic and fun and tries to engage with the audience and understands that humor is a language and laughter is something that is good for the heart. And I created a character that I get to be when I step out on stage. And that character is unlike anybody else that I can describe because if I was like somebody else, they would say, he reminds me of. And I
Yeah.
don't want to be that. I want
Yeah.
people to say I'm unlike anybody else that they've ever met. So I made sure the character was different. And that's how you have to be in the real world. When you're looking for a new job, perhaps you've got a new job or you're seeking something. If you spend time studying the people who are at that job, and that's who you want to be, you'll always be second best and you'll always work underneath them. No matter what, if you want to be successful in your career, you have to stand out. You have to step up and be different than what the owners or the business people that you're dealing with are used to. You have to take that chance. The worst thing that can happen is you don't get that job or you don't get that promotion. You already don't have either one. But if you can try to create a character that resonates and it's great at sales or social or whatever it is that you're trying to get into, if your character is somebody that resonates with your audience, you'll only be successful, but you have to live it. And I like to say to people, Danny Z's is a character. When I'm not Danny Z's, I'm a proud father of five and I have to go for groceries just like you. I have to do all of those things. But Danny Z doesn't get a day off, doesn't get a sick day, doesn't have an excuse because when you buy a ticket to my show, you expect me to be there. You're on holidays, you've worked for the last 2 months and this is your weekend away with your family and you've taken off your big boy work hat and you're just being a dad or a husband or a spouse. And when you show up, you expect the entertainment to be at its highest level. So I had to separate the two, and I had to understand that Danny Z's doesn't get a sad day or a sick day or doesn't have financial hardships or car problems. Danny Z shows up to entertain. And if you considered that in your job, if you understood that the character that you play is that of somebody who is successful and achieves the highest level of success, you can show up as that character. You can work your ass off and prove that that's who you are. And then at the end of the day, you can take that hat off and you can become a father and a vulnerable husband or a wife or a person that is accepted in your family. It's truly about understanding the role that you play.
I think that's so powerful. And it's not something that I think we've really heard on this podcast before. I think one of the things in the professional community that we're in, and you guys hear me talk about all the time, is how important it is to have mentors and to have somebody to emulate. But at the same time, what I'm hearing and what's really important is that you do have to find your authentic self in that next thing, that next position, or in your career, because that's how you're going to shine through. That's how you're going to stand out is the authentic self and what makes you so special, what makes you valuable, what transferable skills you have that others don't even the ones that you emulate. So I think that's incredibly powerful. I want to shift gears a second and ask you about rejection. I have to imagine that in business and in your career as an entertainer, there must have been situations where you had to face rejection. I know a lot of job seekers, especially in this current market, are going through a lot of rejection. Can you talk about how you handled that?
Well, again, I have to say it's a two-part answer. The first part answer is my religious beliefs allow me to believe that I am in a position where I'm supposed to be. I often use the term God gives you what you can handle.
Yeah,
I often use that term, and I think to myself, if I didn't get a job or didn't get a position or if something didn't work out the way it was, then it was because it wasn't the right thing for me. I've said a few times during this interview that I'm a proud father, and to take it back to that, um, like many people, my wife and I had some miscarriages, and I think that that's something that happens whether we like it or not. And I always think that that's just because it wasn't the right child,
right.
or it wasn't the healthy child, or whatever it could be. And because of that, my family's perfect. I got these great children that I just couldn't imagine even a moment without. And
Mm.
because of that, I was just waiting for the right one. And I think that jobs are the same thing. I think that if you apply for a job and you don't get it, perhaps the leader in that job, the person who would have been hiring you or would be above you, recognize that the character that you play are too similar, or maybe they have a character like that already, or perhaps they're intimidated by your own success. You have to accept the fact that if you don't get that position or you're struggling to get that job, it's just because the right one for you is out there. And you need to believe in yourself so unconditionally. You have to believe that you're on a mission, that you're going in a specific direction. I love the analogy of a bus. I love to think that I'm a bus driver and I'm going in a certain direction, and my friends like you get on the bus and we're all going. And if somebody isn't going in the same direction to me, they can ding and get off the bus. There'll be somebody else waiting to get on my bus later on. So I know where I'm going, and I know that I'm leading the pack in the direction that I'm going. And if you are trying to apply for a job and you're feeling that it's a struggle, you're putting out 1,000 resumes and you're reaching out on LinkedIn and doing all of those things that people do. Don't beat yourself up that you're not getting the work that you're looking for. Just understand that perhaps you're not looking for the work that's right for you. Sometimes how that resonates in a resume or in a sheet, a job description, perhaps you're just not articulating who you are as a character. And we can talk back about Danny Z's a few moments ago. What is that character? And does that character look like everybody else who's sending in that same resume? Because if they get 100 resumes and it's all clean cut guys or girls that look the exact same way and have those same qualifications, there's nothing about it that's going to make you stand out. And you got a 1 in 100 or 1 in 200, maybe 1 in 1,000 shot at getting that job. How are you describing the character that you're going to play in that role? And how is it going to stand out compared to everybody else who has the same resume as you? So that's where you have to take a look at it and add something personal or add a character or even point out a flaw. Even point out the fact that you are human and you make mistakes, but you're strong enough to learn from them. So if you are out there job seeking and not getting what you're looking for, perhaps you're not describing it in a fashion that the perfect person is looking to hear it. So really evaluate it and take the advice of others. Don't be afraid to say to somebody, beat me up and take a look at this and tell me what am I doing wrong. I currently have 14 full-time employees, and there was times in my career where I had up to 200 people working for me. And I can say to you that I've never hired somebody that was the vanilla person out there, the one that's same flavor as everybody else. The people who came and worked for me were because they did things different. My main um, uh, personal assistant, the one guy that takes care of everything. Within a week of working with me, I said, you'll work for me for the rest of your life because I couldn't teach his etiquette, his
Mm.
kindness, his ability to shine. I could teach him how to do the job, but you can't teach a person to be good. And when you are in that position where you're trying to take your career up to the next level or change jobs or even get into a stronger relationship, it doesn't matter what it is. Understand that you don't want to play fair. You don't want to be on equal grounds as somebody else. And there's something about you that is so fantastic that if you could highlight that, it would be an attribute that somebody would see that would resonate with them, that would want to draw you closer. So take a strong evaluation of who you are and how people look at you, and then find that one thing and shine it up and make sure everybody knows that you're fantastic.
Oh yeah, that's such good advice, and I love that quote. It's it's hard to teach good, and when that's up to you, and that requires the effort. And again, we're talking about passion and authenticity, and utilizing every inch of your talents and abilities, and just getting after it. I think that that's so powerful, and I know from the short time that I got to get to know you um, how thorough you are, and how authentic and genuine you are in everything you do. Guys, I've seen Danny perform on a small level at this meeting, and it's just amazing the transformation that happens between the Danny that you're talking to 1 minute and then Danny Zzzz comes out, and it's a whole different, you could feel it, the energy, the persona, the way he handles his show. Um, it's amazing. So I know what you're talking about, and I know that knowing what good looks like in your own version is really important. I imagine that being an escape artist, being an illusionist, and a magician requires a tremendous amount of preparation and practice and precision. It's obviously dangerous. Can you talk about that and how important it is for professionals to make sure that they are well rehearsed and take time to practice and take time to be precise in their efforts?
I would love to have an answer for that question. Um, when I was performing in Niagara Falls, I was doing a magic illusion and hypnosis show. That's where the Danny Z's come from. As a hypnotist, I would put people to sleep. That's where the Z's come from.
Yeah.
Well, a television station contacted me and said, on the anniversary of Harry Houdini coming to Niagara Falls, we would like you to do an escape. And I was one of the main attractions there, so it was an obvious call to try me. And I said, sure, I would love to. And I did a straitjacket escape hanging from my feet from a helicopter over Niagara Falls.
Oh, geez.
Now, I had never done that before, and I ordered the straitjacket on Amazon, and away I go. Like there was so when you're saying rehearsal and preparation and all of that stuff, no, there was none. I just did it. And a short time later, in that same day, we decided to do another television commercial where I was raised in a box by the helicopter, and I had 1 minute to escape, and the box would drop, and I would have to clamp on a safety line. Well, in the shooting of the commercial, I couldn't escape. So they landed the helicopter and they said, how come you didn't escape? I'm like, well, I never did this before. I'm not an escape
Come on.
artist. So I said, so they flew the box up and dropped it from the helicopter. Then they landed and I clipped on and they flew me up, and it was careful editing. And they made a wonderful commercial to bring tourists to Niagara Falls. Well, probably about 6 months later, my phone rang, and it was a person calling and saying that they wanted me to go to Italy to perform the box escape. And I thought it was one of those spam calls where they're like, if you give us money, we'll give you money. My reaction was poor because the gentleman with the thick Italian accent and saying he was going to pay in first class, all of that stuff, I thought this is a scam. So I was like, sure, whatever. And a few weeks later, they called and said, we need your passport. You fly on Monday.
Oh,
And I got on an airplane, a direct flight from Toronto, Ontario, Canada to Rome, 9.5 hours. And in 9.5 hours, I watched YouTube videos to learn how to pick a lock. And I literally figured it out on the plane. And when I landed, they had a crane and they had everything that they needed. And I can say to you that when I walked out, I put my hand on my wife's shoulder and the hand on my producer's shoulder, and I said, in 5 minutes, this is all going to be over. And I truly didn't know if it was going to be positive or negative because I was about to do an escape that I'd never done before. And when the box was pulled up and I was escaping, because I had never rehearsed it or practiced, I didn't understand that when I had released the locks, which I had picked, and the chains and the shackles, I didn't understand that when I dropped them in the box that they would wrap around my safety line. And when I stood up to clip my safety line on, I was about 12 inches short and the box was about to drop. So all I could do was leap and hope. And I leaped up and I was sure that I had missed and I had put my arms back to fall literally to my death. And when the safety line extended, it yanked me back up and pulled me into the hook and broke my collarbone and one of my ribs and my shoulder. And I held the hook and I cried until they released me to the bottom. And when I got to the bottom, I wiped away my tears and my character stepped out and I talked to the camera the way you should. And I had done it. And so when you say about rehearsal and all of that stuff, I have to say to you that don't do what I just did. That's stupid. But in that same respect, I had to put myself out there and try something new. I had to push myself in a way that I had never pushed myself before. And my daughter said to me, Daddy, were you afraid to escape the box? And I said, no, honey. Daddy was afraid to get into it. And
Oh,
if you take a look at our lives, your box could be the home that you live in that you're trying to get a bigger one. It could be a relationship that's sour that you're trying to escape from. It could be a job that you're trying to change. We all have to plan our escape. And my escape worked because I watched the videos and I practiced on the way. Even if it was a short trip, I did the work that I needed in order to reverse engineer the escape. And then when I was in the box, one at a time, I reduced the shackles that were holding me. And when the opportunity was right, I clipped on and tried something new. I'm very lucky that I lived, and I've had many escapes that I've been very seriously injured, where all the preparation in the world couldn't have saved me. And it's not an easy task. So for those the good listenership, don't become an escape artist. That's stupid. But put yourself out there. When an opportunity arises, just like Italy calling, take the call, take the step. Because if I didn't go on that trip, I certainly wouldn't be talking to you today. And since then, I've got 15 Got Talents behind me. I've gotten 3 world records. I've performed in 50 countries. And if I didn't go to Rome to do that first one, if I didn't try, I wouldn't be the character that I've become. So put yourself out there, practice, figure out what you have to do, and do it better than anybody else.
man, I don't even know where to go from there. That is like it's a don't try this at home kind of thing, but at the same time, it's amazing advice. I don't, how do you even handle, so you have to be fearless in order to, I mean, how do you handle fear and
No,
how do
I'm
you face
scared. It's horrible.
Oh man.
Don't listen. This if everyone listening thought they were going to get fluff, you're not getting it from me.
Yeah.
I didn't choose this. This chose me. I didn't want to be an escape artist. I don't like to be on fire. I don't like to be underwater. I don't like to hang from cranes or airplanes or helicopters. None of those things. And I cry. If you watch the videos, I'm crying. I'm scared. I'm screaming. It's horrible. But I want you to really consider that. I am as afraid as you would be, no matter what. But I push past that. That's the first step. The first step is to get past that fear. After that, it does take rehearsal or preparation and good staff, all of those things. I'm not kidding. But before I get to any of my shows, I'm still the one that has to take the step. I'm still the one that has to get in the box or do whatever I have to do. And we are faced with that. Humanity is faced with that every single day. Do you eat the food? Do you go to the job? Do you have the drink? Do you have, it doesn't matter what it is.
Mm.
I just, mine is something that's super scary, but I still do it. So thank God that so many people don't have to have a career that requires them to hang from their feet from a helicopter, okay? But that step is just as important. That showing up for yourself is so valid and important that it's as just the same as me. And I'm not an adrenaline junkie. This job chose me. I didn't
Yeah.
plan on it. I'm not brave, but I've been blessed because it it's allowed me to support my family. My story and my character has been seen by millions and millions of people all over the world. I've had audiences of 60,000 and an audience of one with you. I've had the opportunity to see all of these wonderful people and share my story and my message with them. And if we go all the way back to the beginning where I said to you, God gives you what you can handle. My opportunity came, my door cracked open, and I could have looked in and said, hanging from a helicopter is not for me, and went for the next door. I pushed it open and said, there's got to be something cool on this side of the door. Here I go. And it has literally shown me the world.
You are amazing. And please tell everyone where they can find you. What are your socials? Can people like find you performing online somewhere?
Yeah, please, please. If you do a simple Google search of Danny with four Z's, a ton of stuff will come up. And I'm always looking to interact with people. I always am looking for new friends and certainly opportunities for me to perform or talk or share my passion and my story, just like we are doing you and I today. So please reach out to me, and I'm easily found. And I hope that in my story it resonates with you and it pushes you to take a look at what your character is and who you hope to become, because on the other side of that door, it is fantastic.
Oh man, you're the best, brother. I really appreciate you sharing your story and all of your wisdom with us. And I'm a huge fan, and I'll be following along, and I'll be rooting for you the whole way, brother.
I love it. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, man. Thanks, guys. As always, appreciate your support of this show. Thank you for all of the shares and comments, and I know you guys have just been so active out there, and I can't thank you enough. So I'll see you next time. Danny Z's, you're the best, buddy. Love you.
Thank you.